Welcome everybody to this episode of Man Buns and Jesus. I'm just going to vamp a little bit while I look up. We are episode 21. That's the episode we're on, and we got a good one for you today. I'm Pastor Josh Laborious. I'm the clueless host of this podcast, and I'd like to introduce my slightly less clueless host, Ben Olschlager. What do we have today, Ben?
Well, I'm distracting my dog at the moment, which is a pretty beautiful thing because she likes to, I don't know, do things that are unexpected. But just like this dog, there are many things in this world that are quite beautiful, and no one specializes in talking about beauty much more than our esteemed guest today, the Mr. Future Doctor Hayden Lukas.
Wow.
Hayden was a classmate of ours at the seminary, a great friend, and a master of all things beautiful. So we've asked him on the podcast today to talk about beauty and art and how we can integrate it into our worship and Christian life.
Yeah.
So, Hayden, why don't you just start us off? What is beauty and why should we care about it?
Guys, this is amazing. So before we get into the topic, people watching the YouTube video of it, they're going to see we've got quite the amount of guests here today. You have my two beautiful baby boys. This is August, and this is Oswald, Wally, and Gus, as they're referred to. We've also got a dog. You guys were telling me this is the most guests you've ever had on a podcast before. So I'm excited to be a part of this. At some point in the near future, my wife will swing in and take these beautiful babies out of the room. But as we wait for that, beauty. Yeah, I don't know. We kind of threw this together, and it was really great of you guys to have me on. And I appreciate you saying that I'm a master of things beautiful. Just on my bed over here, I have the soccer jersey for Concordia Seminary this year. And do you want to see it? Let's see if I can grab it. Have you seen it?
Kind of. I ordered one. Is it the commemorative jersey?
It's not the commemorative jersey, and it's just too far away. I can show it on camera later. But one of the beautiful things on that is something that Joshua, I understand, helped design, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. The arm patch in commemoration of Coach Koo. And that's actually, and you did it with my brother-in-law, John, right? Okay.
That I did?
Yeah, I got the first edition of the letters that tells us what's going on. So. Unless that's not supposed to be public knowledge, but Jamie Krustals is sending out some of
I have no idea what's supposed to be public knowledge.
Okay, well, it's happening.
I got an email like 5 months after I graduated talking about this stuff, and I was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, but you designed it. I'm actually not a great... can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a great... visual artist. I'm also not a great also I'm on a podcast called Man Buns and Jesus, which means that I'm with, I won't say that man buns are unkempt, but just like
how dare you for even insinuating it.
but it's like as far as beauty goes, I don't know if man buns level up too high on it, but visually I don't keep myself together too well. I'll say you guys can make yourselves keep it together all right. Yeah, okay.
I'm leaving. I'm done.
I'm sorry.
This is the fastest we've ever lost a host on the show.
Yeah.
It's the only time any of us has ever walked away not to take care of a dog.
Yeah.
Hayden's a record holder. We're putting his plaque on the wall.
That's
throwing
good.
darts at it.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what is and isn't beautiful, but what is beauty?
Yeah,
Still
so
haven't gotten there.
yeah, so that's good. Beauty is not necessarily man buns. But Josh, your thing is a great example of something beautiful because um, beauty is not just like what a lot of people think beauty is like you go to a concert and you witness something beautiful, or you go to an art museum and you see the art there and the art is beautiful, and
For
in some
those
ways
of you
that's
watching the video, here's the clip. Here's the
oh
graphic he keeps referring to.
yeah, great, thank you. um yeah, so and I can kind of try to analyze this a little bit. I see, I don't know, we can do that later, but the great thing about this graphic and the way that it's used is that it's not just like a thing that you put together that is going to hang somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to hang somewhere, Wally. It's being used somewhere. And the thing that I think a lot of people miss about beauty, and that's important and central to beauty's identity, or what beauty is that it's something that is used. It's something that draws you into something important. It catches your attention. It motivates you to reflect on, like I said, something worthy of your reflection, or of your attention. Maybe is the most succinct way to put it. So that doesn't quite get at a very tight definition. It's a good question, but maybe just to tack down what I said, beauty is useful. It's something that motivates you, and it's something that points to something true, something that's worthy of your attention, and reveals something about the world. So I'll give you those 3 points.
I think that's. I mean, first of all, this is the most I've ever thought about beauty in my life. So I think that's really helpful. I think that's a really good way to look at it.
We're breaking into new territory for you, Josh.
Well, and here's, I might be about to derail this entire podcast by the question I'm about to ask. So
Uh-oh.
buckle up, everybody. Kind of related to your comment about our beautiful hairstyle, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
My question, because when you were talking about beauty and it draws your attention,
Yeah.
for better or for worse, the first thing that came to mind for me was people who draw your attention with their beauty. Right? You
Yeah.
look at someone and you're like, wow, that person is beautiful. And I have two thoughts on that. The first is, it draws your attention to something worthwhile, and it reveals something about creation. And when I think about it in that lens, I think, well, then people truly are beautiful because they're drawing your attention to the pinnacle of God's creation, right? Of
Yeah.
people who are undoubtedly worth care and attention and focus, right?
Yeah.
And then the second question is, when does it kind of become a perversion of beauty? In that, when does that attention that is garnered become something it shouldn't be? When, like, for the instance of people, when does it cross the line from appreciation of beauty into lust, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I
So if
don't
I
know where that line is.
well, it doesn't have to be like the attractiveness thing either, which is like part of what you're talking about, I think. But there's also like I didn't explain the Coach Coup insignia thing very well. So what we're doing with that is we're putting it on our soccer jerseys. And the reason we're doing that was because Professor Coup was a professor at Concordia Seminary while we were there. I didn't have the connection with him that you or John did. But I or a lot of the guys in our class did, but I know a lot of you were close with him. I got a job in the afternoon, so I stopped coming to soccer. Hey, Rebecca, do you mind
Hi,
grabbing the boys?
Rebecca.
I think I can hold on to Gus for a minute, but thank you. All right, cool. So thanks, honey. What we're doing with those soccer jerseys, now you can see it now that I've moved my camera, folded up there on my bed. We're wearing them, we use them to identify ourselves, and part of Concordia Seminary soccer team's identity. And again, we're not a great soccer team or anything, but it's fun, it's a good community thing. And we're honoring a beautiful life, a beautiful man who I know was loved and cared about his work, and was a good professor at our seminary who, what are his three things, Josh? Do you remember?
Pastor, mentor, and coach.
Pastor, mentor, and coach. Or he had three values though. Like contextual, appropriate.
It was rooted in the gospel, contextually appropriate, or rooted in the gospel, confessionally grounded, contextually appropriate were his three things.
Yeah, right. And that's pretty killer. That's a pretty good way of talking. So obviously like a wise man and a strong presence on campus. And so what you did was you created something beautiful that's used in an appropriate context to commemorate something beautiful. It would not be appropriate to like, well, I mean, unless we got like a sponsorship, it would not be, but obviously it's not as beautiful to be like Frank's Weenie Hut on our jerseys is not as beautiful, you know. It's not as meaningful, and it's not pointing to something as true. It's just pointing to something that's for consumption, you know. And so you get this kind of with like corporate art. Corporate art is kind of like very strange and not necessarily very beautiful. I haven't watched any of those YouTube videos that are like that blew up about that, but they keep showing up on my feed. There's a dog. And it's like a big deal that people realize like a lot of the art and stuff that we produce isn't beautiful, and it's just kind of like banal or whatever. But your question about, or your point about lust, with what I just said about coup, I tried to answer what you were saying about what makes something beautiful, or why do we do something? What does it mean to meditate on something important? There's also beauty that's like a trick in a way, you know. You can adorn something, put a bunch of ornamentation on it, and
down south we'd say
a lie.
Put makeup on a pig.
That's right, lipstick on a pig. Yeah, exactly. And
I can't imagine the pig would be very happy in that scenario, though.
No, I haven't spent time around pigs.
You might have some
like
logistical problems putting makeup on a pig.
Yeah.
You'd also have like animal rights groups out after you because you were like committing animal abuse or something for doing animal testing of your products.
Right. Yeah. But so think of like a very, and I'll try not to be like chauvinist, so we'll use a man as an example. If you put like a really handsome man out in front of you.
Well, let me set the stage for you.
Yeah.
If I walk in the gym, I walk in the gym and I see this dude, he's repping like 300 pounds on his bench press. His biceps are bigger than my head. That is a man, that is a beautiful man that I am witnessing in the gym. That's the stage. Continue.
Yeah, okay. No, so there are different levels to things. And so the beauty of like legit, if he's just like trim and cut and amazing, and he's making his body beautiful and like awesome, that is kind of cool. And I think it's like cool to support. There are many ways to make the human body healthy, and it's not just like being crazy cut and ripped and whatever. But that is one way to make it function well and be, hey buddy, yeah, to be like awesome. This though gets at what beauty is about. It's not just about like having one level of reality, like the human body being something beautiful. Beauty is something that's supposed to kind of hang at different levels of reality. So you are not just your body; you're composed of well, I mean that in a particular way. I'm committed to also being able to say that you are your body in a different context. But you're not just your body. You're a person. You have social relationships. And say the guy that you walked into the gym with is just a total jerk to people, and he drinks a lot, or the kind of like male chauvinist archetype. There's a way where the beauty of his body is not, it doesn't hang together with the rest of his identity. Yes, I just put my baby on the bed when he started crying.
What it looked like from the video frame is that you just tossed your baby across the room. So setting him on the bed is better than that.
Yeah.
That's a good clarification, so that we don't have like child and family services calling it.
Yeah, right.
How many people are we going to get in trouble with for this podcast?
Yeah. So you guys, if you could say something interesting off of what I just said, because I'm going to put this baby in the other room quickly. But the point of what I was saying was that beauty should hang, and ultimately, it's not cool if you just focus on making one part of your life beautiful. You're supposed to make all of your life beautiful, all of what you touch beautiful. So I'll be right back.
Well, and I wonder if part of it, Ben, is the utility, right? Because if this guy is getting jacked in this hypothetical world, if this guy is getting, he's in the gym all the time because he wants to, like, it's a vanity thing, or it's a he's trying to get people to look at him a certain way. I can see that being problematic, and I think that diminishes the beauty because it becomes one dimensional. But if that guy is in there lifting all the time because what he does with the rest of his days is he goes and he helps old people move furniture, and like if they're moving from house to house or into assisted living or whatever, all he does is he uses his strength to help people move or to help people with tasks they can't do on their own. Heck, maybe he just waits in a centralized location to open jars for people who don't have the grip strength of their own. I don't know. But that beauty becomes multidimensional because, yes, like objectively, physically, it's like, wow, that dude looks good.
Yeah.
But his strength and what is kind of the single dimension there then is blessing other people because it serves a purpose. And it serves what I would argue is a faithful purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking you can probably apply, you can apply that to the patch, right? It's not just to have something cool on the jerseys. It means something. Or if there's a beautiful woman, if her beauty serves a purpose, right? It becomes something more than that. Or even
Queen Esther, right?
Yeah.
Kind of
she saved a lot of people with her kind of stemming from her beauty. But like as a mathematician, a proof is beautiful.
Yeah.
A proof is more beautiful when it serves a function, which that's a whole separate conversation. But
well,
go Ben, go.
Yeah, go.
So
Ben.
as a former engineer, I was never really an engineer. As a guy with an engineering training,
wasn't it civil engineering?
Yeah, roads and bridges and stuff.
Roasted.
What?
We'll have my brother back on, and he can just talk about civil engineers.
Anyway, so civil engineering as a profession, there's a lot of things that civil engineers do that like don't hold a lot of aesthetic appeal. But like I look at a lot of the work that my wife is a practicing civil engineer at the moment. Juno, down.
I agree, Juno. I agree wholeheartedly.
My wife is a practicing civil engineer, and she works on everything from like roadways to sewers to checking, construction plans for code violations when somebody's doing a renovation on something, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But in the end, like, I think that like, my very bro oriented like vocabulary is gonna say that stuff's awesome or that stuff's cool, not that stuff's beautiful. But like, it's by this definition, I think there is something to be said about it being beautiful, because like it motivates me to praise my wife for her work because she does a good job and it's utilized. Like the city of Fenton, Michigan is going to have functional sewers because my wife's work is good. Like
that's where some cousins of mine live, so thank you.
You're welcome. It's just like one neighborhood that she's working on, but still.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So like I think in my head, like separating beauty from just aesthetic is like visual aesthetic is something that we maybe need to do more of, or in the case of Hayden's particular form of art, separating beauty from like the beauty of music from just like a song's earworm tendency, like how well it gets stuck in your head, or how well it charts, or any of those kinds of things. I think that's a helpful thing for us in terms of the way that we view things that are appealing, right?
Yeah, if I could, that's great. That's like, well, first I've got a friend in Michigan. Maybe he'll end up working with your wife at some point. He's at an architecture firm who, or that restores old buildings in Detroit, and it's like the perfect job for him because he's described himself to me. He's like, I'm not a math or engineering or like structural integrity kind of guy. I'm like, let's make something beautiful and artsy, and then I'll have team members help me make it happen, and it works. It works for him, and he's been very successful. He's restoring Grand Central, or whatever the main train hub in Detroit was, and he's renovating that. Okay. And but so there is that element that kind of the actual building of things and making them beautiful, that is separated in the in the field, from what I understand. And it's cool. It's great when infrastructure is like beautiful. And I'm not like a Roger Scruton kind of guy necessarily. I kind of like some of Roger Scruton, but
I don't know who that
that's
is.
over everyone in our audience's head, dude.
Okay, well, he's like, he will just like show you pictures of London and in his books, and he'll be like, and I don't know enough about architecture conversation to have this conversation, and I do want to move into music, so don't let me get too caught up on this, but he'll just show you like a picture of like London, and you'll have like this 18th century still kind of classical style, like late classical architecture, and then you'll have like a brutalist 1960s building that's like a cage, a concrete cage right next to it, and it'll be like a shot from above over a few streets, and then right next to them you'll have like a modern art museum where you have like a normal box building made of like concrete or like cinder blocks or whatever, and then out of it there'll be like a glass cube that's like at an angle and just totally like defies physics and looks totally crazy, and he'll be like, what do you think actually makes the streets beautiful? And he's just very like anti-modern art, and I kind of get it, but also don't totally agree necessarily. um but that features into what I want to say about music. I actually struggle with this a lot, and because my style, like when I think of beautiful music, this is just who I am. I think of like Claire de Lune on piano, or like beautiful nocturne piano pieces that are just like gorgeous, and more classical style. And I'm just not a classically trained musician. I learned guitar at Guitar Center, or not Guitar Center, Guitar Castle in Royal Oak, Michigan, from a lawyer who just like for extra money would teach kids guitar. And so it was not classically, the guy was like a bum kind of, but so that's how I learned. And then I just picked up piano, just kind of taught myself piano. And for my first few years of writing music, it all just kind of was blah, stupid, sucky. And I had great people who worked with me. Tell me if I'm rambling. I am. Bring it back to beauty. So I've got this piece right now that I worked with on ukulele, and it's called Flora, and it's not being released anytime soon. But I've shared it with a few people, and it's this arpeggiated ukulele part, and the words are a flower blooms and then it fades. Was it worth anything? The music starts and it stops. Was it worth anything? The chorus is, oh, what it's like to be young for a time, to be young for a time, to be young. Oh, what it's like to be young for a time, to be young for a time, to be young. Will my life only bloom and fade? Was it worth anything? Was it worth anything? The word of the Lord always stays the same. I know he'll remember me. I know he'll remember me. Oh, what it's like to be young for a time, to be young for a time, and so on. And the point of the piece, it's a very haunting kind of ukulele part, which is strange for that instrument because it's supposed to be light and fun instrument, Hawaiian Islands, kicking back by the beach. But it's a very haunting piece. And I know it's kind of weird to analyze my own music while you just burped. But yeah, I like doing things like that. Sometimes beauty is like a surprising thing. It'll be like, dang, I forgot the question that kicked this off, Ben, because I just went off. So. But this is like any conversation with me, as you both know.
So
that's true. That's true.
Worth us noting that Hayden is getting his doctorate from the seminary in systematics, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And he's looking at how some different philosophical themes showed up in Luther, right?
Yeah. Yep. Neoplatonism. So that's right.
So when it comes to thinking about things that make your head hurt, that's like Hayden's chosen profession. So if it seems like we're in the weeds a little bit, this is just where Hayden lives
there.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But we appreciate it because sometimes we have to stop and think about things that we take for granted. And I think beauty is one of them. And that's kind of why I wanted to have you on this show today, was because like when we talk about beauty, I mean, we talk about surface level beauty, right? But then when we like sit down and analyze what makes something beautiful, you can have two things that somebody might call beautiful, but one of them that seems to ring way more true than another one. I'll use an example of you might see a print of, a famous painting in someone's home. The original painting, especially, like the mastery of the artist's work on display in that painting, especially if it's conveying some sort of raw emotion, that might be beautiful. But this print, more often than not, it's just there to make the house kind of look a little nicer, or brighten up a room or something. Not saying that that's all house art, but that can definitely be the case with some of those things.
Yeah.
And we use the word beautiful sometimes to describe some of those things. But then an example of like incredible beauty that has been in a conversation that I had recently, I was talking to a number of our members here in Bible study about the sanctuary at Historic Trinity in downtown Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
Hayden's been there. I've been there. Josh, if you haven't been there, go ahead and Google some pictures. This place, I don't know where they got the money exactly. I've heard some stories about Ford money being in this somehow, but like they dumped a ton of money in that place.
Yeah.
And
It's gorgeous.
yeah, like, yeah, that you walk into that place, you experience the artwork in there, and you just feel like, you know what, this place is meant for something special. And there's a sincere beauty to it, and it's not just a beauty for the sake of some sort of aesthetic improvement to your home, but it's a beauty for the sake of, like, this place is set apart, this place is special, this place has a purpose.
Yeah, and if I can, that reminds me why I said all that stuff I said, because the struggle with my music is
Squirrel?
like, yeah, right, is that,
Hey, I'm glad I
like,
brought you back.
yeah, like I want to sell my music and make money from it, kind of, which would be cool. But I found this last weekend. I played a piece I wrote on Isaiah 28 and 29 in my congregation. And this is what I'm talking about when it's just like the patch that Josh put on the jersey. Well, that's is kind of a tiny thing, obviously, but it's just like, I played a piece for my congregation, and it really blew me away, like, as an offertory is what I played it for. And it's about God. It's kind of like the part of scripture that it's talking about, Isaiah 28 and 29, is God saying, like, you successful kings of Israel, like the upper classes, you think that you can escape me by like dying happy deaths in your old age. And he's like, but judgment is going to come either way. And I took that as like, well, the resurrection of the dead, there's going to be a day of judgment. And for the city of Jerusalem, for God's people, it's going to be an amazing day. And for those who are going to be judged, it won't be, but it's the same event. It's the same event. For those who are saved, it's going to be life. And for those who aren't, it's going to be death in a way. And it's weird because it's like they don't understand the beauty of the Lord. And so I wanted to take that passage and turn it into something beautiful for God's saints in the church. And when I played it for them, I just got like, Dr. Seleska goes to my congregation, and I will never, now that I have a video recording platform right now to say something about it, he told me that one of the pieces that I've written, which I also played for our congregation a few weeks ago, was based off of a sermon from Augustine. And he quote, this is a direct quote from a seminary professor, Hayden, you're better than Augustine. So the way I wrote that piece was better than the way Augustine wrote his sermon. So I have that to always lean back on. But all I'm saying, all I'm getting across with all this is that when my art that I produce gets people in my congregation to worship the Lord in a meaningful way and reflective way, and teaches them something about our faith in like an interesting way, I love that, because, and this is the part about beauty that I didn't get at earlier, which is that beauty activates you. It draws you into the truth, and it doesn't do that in an arbitrary way. It's not like putting lipstick on a pig. It's like the beauty of the truth is part of how you know something is true. And so when I talk about the resurrection of the dead for my congregation in a piece that I write for them, as an offertory for me to sing alone, which is kind of weird, and I am ambivalent about that. But when I perform it as an offertory and draw them into the beauty of Christ's resurrection and our future resurrection, that's something I love doing. And when art can actually do that for people and motivate them to reflect on and think about the truth of God's presence in the world, is like, that's what beauty's about. So thanks. There's my little TED talk.
The last thing that I kind of wanted to loop into this was like, so you kind of spoke there more directly to how beauty integrates into worship life. And while it's true that like we certainly want beauty in our worship life, like that's not the only place that it has to show up, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I think one thing that we kind of maybe neglect a little bit is beauty in the everyday. And so I think one of the things that stuck out to me in what you were talking about there is just recalling that beauty should point to a truth and motivate you to be drawn to that truth, and should, inspire you to act on that truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I've been studying the book of James with my congregation for the last few weeks. And I did so in part because of how much Luther hates it. Right. As good Lutherans, we should maybe look at the stuff that draws the ire of the guy that our denomination is named after, and figure out like, what's going on here. Why is this such a big tripping point for so many Lutherans? And for those of you who are listening to this podcast and don't know, we are all Lutheran.
Yeah.
But we look at these words, and for us, as like with our Lutheran goggles on, especially our Lutheran goggles in view of how we understand Paul's words in the New Testament, like we look at those words and we struggle to see beauty, because James uses the words faith and works and righteousness and justification and like all these things in a way that we're not comfortable with, in a way that we're not used to, in a way that we don't understand the definition of. And so like we miss the beauty in them. But then if you go back and you really study the text, you see that he's not using them in the way that we're used to. He's not using them in a straightforward way. And when you understand what James is doing, there's suddenly beauty in this text. And it's a beauty that points to like just the act of living the Christian life. We just studied the passage, the famous passage, faith without works is dead, right? And later on in that particular section of chapter 2 of James, he writes about how Abraham is justified by his works, and his works, like, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's like his works justified his faith or something like that. and then his works completed his faith. And what James is getting at is not that like his works made his faith more righteous, or his works made him, more faithful in terms of his walk with God. It was that like his works in conjunction with his faith were beautiful, and that and beautiful in the eyes of God, because it is through our faith that our works become beautiful before God. And so I think, like, for me, as we talk about this, and as I look at that passage now, I look back and think about just the very active Christian life being a little bit more beautiful. Like this dog that some people might keep seeing pop up on the screen from time to time. A couple nights ago at about 4 a.m., threw up in our bedroom. And
Ben thought that was beautiful.
No, I didn't think that was beautiful. There was probably some words that should not be repeated, muttered under my breath as I'm getting out of bed to deal with it. But I think there was a beauty in the fact that my wife and I both got out of bed and both dealt with it together so that we could both get back to bed as quickly as possible. Like, there was a level of service in the fact that we both got up to get this done quickly and efficiently, so that we were serving each other in order to, get our rest, get sleep, be healthy. And like, looking back on it, it was 4 a.m. and we were cleaning dog vomit, but my wife was serving me in a beautiful way. And I hope that she maybe sees what I was doing as serving her in a beautiful way. And we both got back to bed in about 15 minutes, which has got to be some sort of land speed record for cleaning up dog vomit. So like that.
Well,
I don't know if I'm drawing lines that shouldn't be there, but like,
no, that's a great point, because like there's a tension in Christianity. I'm in this place right now where I'm very confused about a lot of things. And this is a good example of it, because it's like Christianity has in itself like its exact reversal. So we talk about the complete sovereignty and rule and reign of God, but then we also talk about Christ emptying himself and becoming nothing and humiliating himself entirely for our sake. And it's like both ends of that process, and it's weird because we can talk about Christ's crucifixion, and I only bring this up because you talked about service and humbling yourself to serve other people. And it's like, it's weird because we have this sense where we do recognize that this is a disturbing event, and recognize that Christ's crucifixion is a curse. He was cursed on a tree. But there's also like, it's so weird, and you have to take it with the resurrection, of course, but there is this moment where it's like, wow, Christ died for me, and that actually is like him. This like Philippians 2, like this all-powerful God, you're all surpassing glory, you want to give that all to me, by being cursed. And there's something beautiful in that process. And it's weird because it's like you have to experience, not in a like pietistic way for any Lutheran listeners, but it is something that you have to experience and know that is for you, until you can see the beauty in that, knowing that someone died for you and knowing that that's directed exactly for you. You're right, like there's something about that love that draws you into the beauty of God's plan, which is the restoration of all creation, I guess, is a good way to say it. Yeah. And I think that's to speak succinctly, maybe it's not saying that Christ's curse is beautiful, but it's when Christ is cursed, when he dies on the tree, it's the revelation of God's beautiful design. And so when you like do something disgusting when I'm covered in baby, like 2 days ago, Gus had a blowout and I literally am like, my hands are covered in baby poop and it's like getting everywhere. And when you're covered in dog vomit, that's not very beautiful. But what that action of love reveals is your desire to have a beautiful relationship with your wife. Is your willingness to sacrifice yourself to make something beautiful, or make something beautiful once more. I guess it might be the best way to say it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
So.
Maybe.
I think so, and I think
Yeah.
like that puts a nice bow on this. I know you've got some time constraints here, so
Yeah.
we'll go to the part of the show that we never warn anybody about. Takeaways.
Well, at this point, it's their fault for not listening to previous episodes.
That's fair. So we never warn our guests about this, but at the end of the show, we like to kind of look back at our conversation, and whether it's an overarching point that you want to highlight or something that you want to like draw focus to again, that was kind of a point in our whole conversation.
The takeaway would be the easy way to say that,
Okay.
Ben.
Takeaway.
What?
Oh, a takeaway. Okay.
Who was it? Never use two words when one will do.
Yeah. Well, takeaway is two words in one word. So that's a very convenient one word thing.
Yeah.
That's right. So
probably one word in German.
Yeah. So a good takeaway. Well, this didn't come out exactly, or it might have been elided over in the way I spoke. And thank you for letting me speak at length. But it's that really what beauty reveals about the world, it kind of came up in the last part of our conversation, is that the world is constituted by God's love and God's love for us. And that what beauty is supposed to do is reveal that love to you. God has a beautiful design for the world, and that is beautiful. And and I guess it's just kind of recapitulating what I just said at the end there when Ben said I tied a nice bow around it. And I might just leave it at that Christ sacrifices himself to restore the beauty of God's creation. And it's cool. It's always good to try to restore the beauty that should be present in the world. And that's what Christians should actually take as their task, I think. So thanks for letting me like pontificate and be dumb this episode. It's like letting me go off just like feeds a terrible, obviously like wrong perception of my worth as a speaker. So it is very kind of you to just kind of let me go off for a little while. So thank you.
Sometimes we like to have conversations that leave everybody's head hurting at the end.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just yell at the world, but sometimes we like to make people think.
Yeah.
Josh, what's your takeaway today?
I'm gonna keep it to what I think is the most like applicable part. Beauty doesn't exist in the absence of utility.
Yeah.
So like, don't be useless. Here's my takeaway.
That's great.
Print it.
That's great.
Don't be useless.
Don't be useless. That's great.
You're more beautiful when you're not useless.
Yeah.
I think my takeaway in all of this is that beauty also points to truth. Like, and that beauty is true. Like, there's so much artificial in this world that people try to like force beauty into, or force aesthetic into, or cut corners to create an aesthetic, right? But there's something that's true about real beauty that is recognizable, even if it's not necessarily your taste. There's something about true beauty that's recognizable, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, shameless plug time.
Hayden, lead us off with a shameless plug.
All right, thanks.
If you stop listening for our shameless plugs, listeners, don't stop listening yet, because one of them is important.
Oh, well,
Two of
thank
them.
you. Yeah, I suppose two of them. So first, I'm leaving, and we have a time constraint because I'm going to see a dude, Blake Flatley, do a performance here in Missouri. He goes around. He's with 1517. He does hymn sing happy hours. You can book one at your church if you want. But what's cool about Blake? Go to 1517.org/music to check that out. But what's cool about Blake is also my producer on an album that an EP that I'm releasing with 1517. Should be coming. I can't give an exact date because it all depends on a few things that come down the road, but should be coming this November. It'll come by the end of the year for certain. But 3 songs, very beautifully produced by Blake, and I'm very proud of them. There's some pieces that I've been working on for some time. So thanks for the opportunity to shamelessly plug that.
Does it have a
Second,
title?
oh, the title, I actually don't have a title.
That's actually the only reason it's not released. Hayden can't decide on a title.
So circle back in like November, December to 1517.org.
Yeah, /music. 1517 Music is the group I'm publishing it through. They're kind of starting a record label. It's me right now, Blake Flatley, and the only other person, I don't think it's technically released under 1517, but with 1517, partnering with them is Flame, Marcus Gray. So the big 3, Hayden Lukas, Blake Flatley, and Flame, of course.
I wonder who's selling most of their records.
Yeah. So
for anyone who's not familiar, Flame is like as big time as Christian rappers are, he's up there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and I mean, Hayden's obviously the one bringing in the bucks to
That's right.
1517 music, but
yeah.
But Flame's a close second.
I don't know Flame, so I shouldn't be saying anything. But that guy really has to start pulling his weight. So
you're like he's a Christian rapper.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd be dropping a diss track.
Yeah. Right. No. So obviously, I'm like a nobody, but
Man Buns and Jesus diss tracks. It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
Everybody get excited.
So very excited for that. I do like Flame's work. I've never met him, so but I do like what he does. My second shameless plug is that I am becoming an editor for an online periodical called the Bibfelt Review. That's Bibfelt, BIBFELDT, and review spelled REVUE rather than REVIEW. But anyways, review as in like a cabaret. So it's supposed to be a fun little online periodical. Feel free to reach out to our Twitter, the Bibfelt Review. You can see the rules for the submissions there if you're interested in writing an article or just reading what we've got. Our first issue is coming in February 2023. I might have some of these guys write for it. I've talked with Ben about it. Josh, feel free to write for it. It should be fun. I've got a few people who are writing fun articles. I've got a few people writing serious articles. I think it should be a hoot. So I'm actually pretty excited for it. So that'll be coming February 23. Music is coming likely November 22. So thanks, guys.
All right, we're gonna say bye to Hayden so he can go be a dad and go see his hymn singing happy hour.
Yeah. All right, peace, guys. Thank you.
Hayden, good to see you.
See ya. Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Which means it's time for our shameless plugs. Nothing quite that impressive, I don't think, except for we finally got on Pandora. So there's that. We are, whatever your podcasting platform of choice is, we're probably there, unless you picked a weird one, in which case, stop it. Pick a normal one. We're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean. That's mostly just because that's the platform that kind of supports us. Or I shouldn't say that. They're the platform we pay to distribute our podcast to all these other platforms. But go ahead. You can subscribe to us on those platforms, which is it's nice for you. You get notifications when we have episodes, and it's nice for us because it validates that we're taking the time and putting the effort in to do this stuff. So go ahead and do that. And we also have a Facebook page. Like it if you feel so moved by the Spirit, but it's really just there so that if you don't have a personal connection with us, you can reach out to us that way. If you're if you have a personal connection with one of us, just shoot us a text message. But with that page, if you have something you want to hear us talk about, put it up there. We'll add it to the list. If you have someone you want us to try and bring on, put it up there. We'll reach out and see if they're willing to talk with us. If you would like to come on, we'll take you. Really doesn't matter who you are or what you do. You probably have to speak English. I don't know that I'm fluent. I don't know that I know enough Spanish to do a whole episode in Spanish, but so I guess that's the qualification. You have to 9. You have to speak English, I guess. But yeah, so that's what the Facebook page is good for. And I think that's about it. The only publication I have coming out is Portals of Prayer, but that's not till 2025. So I guess you can mark your calendars, but you got some time. So yeah, with that, go in peace, slightly confused, and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.